telling my mate, this guy's brilliant, and Jason Lee went through on goal and fell over the ball, landed on his arse, and we got beat 2-0. And I kind of came away from that thinking my entire life is going to be based around idolising crap footballers.
Hiya, Tom here, just with Gary Hutchinson, Lincoln City blogger, author. Is that how you want to be described?
Yeah, blogger, author. I like that, yeah.
Right, so, first question I've got for you. How long have you supported the Imps?
I have supported the Imps for, and sometimes forget how old I am. I remember it was from 5th of October 1986. It was a Sunday and we got beat 4-1 by Hartlepool, and it was freezing and it was miserable and I was hooked. So 31 years nearly.
Is that your earliest memory, the Hartlepool game? Do you remember much of it? Or
I remember Tony Simmons scoring for Lincoln and we were 1-0 up, and I remember a guy called Gary Lund missed a shot, and I was at it was the railway end, it's the Stacey West End now, and I had my chin on the little granite wall there, and Gary Lund came and smashed into the advertising hoardings while he missed an effort. I remember a little bit before that. I do remember the Bradford Fire, and I hadn't been to a game, but I remember watching it on telly and my dad being really upset, and that was obviously about a year before that. So and my granddad's budgie, I remember him because my granddad taught him to say Mick Harford in the early 80s. So yeah.
Nice. So they're how you got into it? Your parent, dad and granddad?
Yeah, my granddad was a fan from the 50s and 60s. My dad went through the 70s and the 80s, and now I still go with my dad now. We lost my granddad in 92, but yeah, I still go with my dad.
So all three, you got lucky years, really.
Yeah, we did. We've seen some terrible years.
Yeah, obviously being a Lincoln fan, you see a lot of terrible stuff, don't you?
Yeah, I remember my dad and my granddad crying when we went down in 87. I remember that really well. And I didn't really understand it. I'd been to a few games that year.
Yeah.
I'd actually seen us beat Swansea 4-0 at Sinsel Bank. Gary Lund got a hat-trick that day, and I couldn't understand how I watched that, and then 4 months later everybody was upset at how they were doing. So but yeah, it's kind of a family thing, you know. Lincoln City's in you, and you know, my dad still moans as much now as he did when he used to take me when I was 10 or 11, but it's kind of the only thing that we, you know, one of the main things rather, that we bond over. So
well, I'm pretty opposite. My parents both moved up from Essex, so my dad's not that interested in football. Like, he listens to talk sports, stuff like that, but he's not like, he'd never own a season ticket or anything like that.
No.
So I kept pestering, because I got into football when I was about 7 or 8, and I kept pestering to take me to a match, and Lincoln was the nearest one.
What was your first game?
We played Kidderminster in 2004.
Okay.
And I always remembered it as a loss, but I've looked back and it was a draw.
Oh, right, okay.
So I guess I don't know what that tells you about Lincoln. I always remember that we lost.
Let's see what would be quite amusing about that. I would have been poacher at that game as well.
Oh yeah, so, I'd have seen you.
Yeah, I would have been wandering around.
Yeah, but one of my earliest memories, I can remember the Yeovil match where we lost, but we got into the playoffs.
Did we lose 3-2? Aaron Wilford scored for us that day. It was his only goal for the club. Big blonde-haired lad that we signed from York. So yeah, I remember that.
I can remember that because it was one of my first footballing experiences that I was really like hooked and really interested in what was happening, and everyone was like, I was like, we've lost, but we're in the playoffs, which I didn't really know what that meant, but I knew that everyone was happy about it. Yeah,
that was. I mean, the thing with Keith's teams, and when they were getting in the playoffs, was that quite often we fell into the playoffs, and that was another example. I mean, Yeovil were actually crowned champions, I think, that day.
Jevons ripped everyone apart.
Yeah, he did. He was a superb player. But Yeovil as a whole, I mean, I think they had player Terry Skiverton. In fact, no, they were named champions the year after because they beat us 3-0 on the final day. I think we played them on the final day 2 years in a row. But Keith's teams always stumbled in. They were good teams and they were honest teams, but they were tactically naive at times. And I think, but it was a good time to start watching the club.
It was. I remember given my playoff tickets to go to Millennium Stadium to see us against Southend.
Yeah, and
that was a brilliant experience. I was so excited. I can remember, but. I said, I'm from Essex, my uncle's a Southend supporter, and I could see him doing the conga when they won, and I was crying, and I could see my uncle congering around the ground.
You know, I was going on holiday. Funnily enough, when we played at Bournemouth in 2003, we were on the holiday the week before, and we travelled up. We went to a place called Bigbury-on-Sea in Devon, and I remember all that holiday I was nervous, and I ruined the holiday for my mum and my girlfriend at the time because I was a miserable can I say bastard?
Yeah.
I was a miserable bastard, and in fact I was poacher, and somebody else had taken the suit, and I didn't think I was going to be able to do it, and I was trying to get through on the phone, so I ruined the holiday. Fast forward 2 years, and I said to my mum, right, we'd book the holiday after the match this time. So she booked it literally starting the day of the match. So we got beat by Southend, and then I had to get the train from Cardiff down to Devon, and I ruined the holiday again because we'd got beat and we should have won, and I was miserable the whole time. And we've never been. I haven't been on holiday with my mum since. Oh, probably right. Okay. Yeah, it was
gone straight after.
Yeah, I mean, you remember that Southend game? Yeo had a perfectly good goal ruled out for offside. Frustratingly, Steve Tilson was the manager, and Southend had a good side. They had Freddie Eastwood up front, and Kevin Mayer in midfield as well.
Oh yeah, Gower, I think.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, Gower. And our problem was in the February of that year, we looked really good, and we'd got Kieran Toner and Marcus Richardson playing for us, and obviously it kicked off between them two in the February. And both were loaned out, and when we got into the extra time of the Southend game, we only had Matt Bloomer that we could bring on, and if we'd been able to bring on Marcus Richardson, I think we would have gone on and won the game.
Okay.
No worries.
Favourite ever Lincoln player?
Oh,
sort of fun, this one.
Yeah, that is because it's hard, because it spans generations.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about players that I've got like no idea. I respect them because I get told about them, but like it's not the same for me. Like
my first ever Imps hero was a guy called Paul Smith. He was a ginger-haired striker. He was record signing in '87, and I really liked Paul Smith. But my favourite ever player was Peter Gain, and because there was no player I've seen in a Lincoln shirt that possessed the natural ability that Peter Gain did. He's a superb player, and I was gutted when he left, and obviously it kind of kicked off when he went to Peterborough, because he scored the year after past us, and he'd had quite a lot of stick from some fans, and he gave a bit of a gesture back. But I've spoken.
Nowadays it'd be all over Twitter, wouldn't it? All over Twitter.
Yeah, that. It would be. And he'd get destroyed for it, wouldn't he? And that's probably a problem with social media. But he actually apologised to Imps fans last year and sort of said that he really still loved the club. So, but yeah, Peter Gain was a special footballer.
Yeah, it does change. It's always weird comparing players from different teams, isn't it? Especially when there's no one remaining from the different teams. It's like a completely different team. Because I can remember when I first started coming, I think Gary Fletcher, Taylor Fletcher, was my first proper hero for Lincoln. I remember meeting him. I went on a school trip, I think, to the club, and I met him. And it seems stupid now, but I had his signature on a piece of paper because I had like nothing with me because I was on a school trip, and it's like. I kept that for years. It's just his name written by him on a piece of paper, which it sounds so stupid now, but like I can remember meeting him. It's just like amazing because he's like, for football for me back then, it was like, it was like how a lot of people who support big teams feel about it when they make their players, because I was so separated because I was just a kid. Like I wasn't involved in the club. There wasn't social media. I wasn't like talking about the club. I'd go on Saturday and I'd see them play. And they'd be my heroes.
Yeah. I can identify with that though, because I mean, obviously when I was a kid, which was a considerably longer time ago than you were a kid, we relied on the Lincolnshire Echo, and I went to the games the same as you, and you got the programme, and all you had to carry you through to the next game was the programme. And I used to have pictures on my wall of players like Jason Lee and Peter Costello, and people would come around my house and go, "Where's your pictures of Ian Rush or Paul Gascoigne and stuff like that?" So, "Oh no, I like this guy." And I remember liking Jason Lee and telling people how brilliant he was. And my dad took me and one of my mates to York away, and Jason Lee played up front, and I remember telling my mate, "This guy's brilliant," and Jason Lee went through on goal and fell over the ball, landed on his arse, and we got beat 2-0. And I kind of came away from that thinking my entire life is going to be based around idolising crap footballers.
Yeah, it's weird when you get beyond the hero stage and realise they are not the best footballers that exist. As much as we think Alex Woodyard is the best midfielder in the world, is like.
I think the team we've got now is a little bit.
It's different because they've got the potential to go forwards.
I think they have.
Yeah, like when I can remember when. I had a similar experience to you, like people take the mickey at me at school. It's just like, yeah, I'm going to Lincoln. And I'd watch Match of the Day in the morning. Not in the morning. I'd watch Match of the Day and I'd know a bit about it, but I didn't care about any of the teams. And they were all like, I guess you could say they didn't care about them in the same way as I cared about Lincoln.
Yeah,
because I go I went out like as often as I could,
Yeah.
as often as my dad would take me.
The thing is, you feel a part of it, don't you? If you're going there and you're watching these players and you're there and there's the sights and the sounds, it's different. And the Sky Sports generation miss out. You know, I grew up in Rugby with a load of Liverpool fans, and I hated top flight football because I hated that smugness. You know, they open the paper as Robbie Fowler. I don't care about him. What's Steve Foley playing like for Lincoln?
Yeah,
badly.
I've got it's like I maintain an interest so I can talk about it with people, and I am interested. I just don't really care about it. It's just like, it annoys me. And people have asked me, would you still support Lincoln if they were in the Premier League? And I'd be like, I probably would, but right now it would seem so detached from what I'm following for us to be buying a player for 20 million, 40 grand a week, and then going the next season. Yeah, it would be so different to what I'm used to.
It's a different world, isn't it? And obviously, if Lincoln got in the Premier League, I'd support them,
I'd still be supporting, but that would have been a 5-year progression of you still supporting Lincoln and you taking each step, which doesn't. I'm sure it wouldn't seem ridiculous, but now obviously it seems ridiculous that we'd be spending 20 million on a player and paying 40 grand or whatever.
Yeah. To be honest, 5 years ago it seemed ridiculous we were spending anything on a player. Yeah. So the fact that we were even buying players like Bostwick is
I can remember when the Cavs first came in last year, to texting my friend like, do you reckon we've actually paid money for a player? What's happening here? But later on, when I was a bit older and I was still supporting Lincoln and all my mates still supported Premier League teams, I took my best mate along and he really got hooked on it. He loved being able to watch live football, which he's a Man United fan, but not really a Man United fan. He'd watch it on Match of the Day and stuff. And so I was like, try this. Honestly, you will enjoy it. It's so different. It's football, but everything is just around you, so it's the atmosphere. And he really loved it. And then so we tried to get a few more people down, but we picked the worst game we possibly could have. We picked North Ferriby in the trophy. Was it 4-0? 4-0. Yeah. 4-0, and they just ripped me for so long. Do you remember when you took us to that match? There was like 2,000 people there, and you got beat 4-0 by some village team.
By pub team. I remember that. It was heartbreaking.
And I just sat there. I was just like, that's one of the very few times I've just sat there, just like, I don't give a shit what they're doing on the pitch. Like, what is this?
Yeah, I remember the one that really stands out for me was Rotherham. The year that we got relegated, March 2011, and we got beat 6-0 at home. And there was that point where you just sat there and there's 11 strangers wearing the football kit of the team that you love, wandering around looking. I mean, we had a player called Pat Kanyuka. God, he was garbage. And, you know, he was the only man. His head must have been like Crichton off Red Dwarf, because every time the ball went near him, it went off in a different direction. And he wasn't even the worst player on the pitch. And I remember at half time, my mate had come with me, he's from Rotherham. At half time we said, look, if he gets to 5-0 I can't watch this, because it would be like watching my granny get a kick in, you know, like the first 1 or 2 or 3 you're kind of going alright, and then then we left at 5-0 and I was eating a steak in the Lincolnshire Poacher when it was 6. It was just awful. It was really awful. But you know, those times are always outweighed by the good ones.
Yeah, I was my first season I had a season ticket was our lowest ever finish ever. Was it
Was that the first or second conference season?
Second, I think it was the second way finished low. Was it?
It
sounds really bad, doesn't it? It sounds really bad.
No, because
that all just sort of blurs into one, doesn't it? Just one horrible spell.
Those 2 years were terrible. When, you know, I think Gary Simpson came in.
We were just abysmal.
We were, although let's be fair to Holdsworth, he had to cut the wage bill by half. Steve Tilson overspent, and you know, David Holdsworth brought a lot of crap players to the club, but he brought Paul Farman, he brought Tom Miller, and then Gary Simpson started to rebuild. But you know, we should never forget where we were. I don't mind forgetting finishing 5th or 6th from bottom and losing to Welling, but you know, it keeps you grounded.
We lost Welling quite a lot, didn't we?
Lost Welling all the time.
Yeah, Welling was just awful.
Yeah, I think in fact the only 2 times that we've beaten Welling were in the FA Trophy. Last year, beat them 2-0 at their place. Yeah. It was when Dale Southwell scored in the first minute, and then possibly Joe Ward. Was it 2-0, 3-0? And we beat them in the conference season. We beat them 4-1 at their place. But we played them 6 times in the conference, and I think every single time they beat us. Yeah,
pretty grim that one. Now, slightly more positive note.
Okay.
Best goal you ever seen a Lincoln player score?
Wow.
It's going to be a proper obscure one, or are you gonna...
Well, do you know what? The thing is, again, I always think when somebody says the best, it's the first best one that stuck in my mind.
Yeah.
And it was it's going to be obscure. It was 1989 or 1990, and we lost 3-1 at home to Gillingham. They had a player called Steve Lovell or Stuart Lovell up front. He was brilliant. absolute tore us apart. But Graham Bressington scored this individual goal, more or less from the kickoff, beat like 4 players and rattled it in. That's what it looked like to me. I was like 10 years old. But if I'm honest, I think one of the very best goals I've ever seen, it was Gary Taylor-Fletcher. It was the second goal against Scunthorpe. It was on telly, and he scored this chip from outside the area. You're nodding like you remember it. It was, you know what? It was Eric Cantona-esque. I always remember that Cantona goal that he scored in Sunderland.
Lovely.
Absolute technique was superb. It really was. But we've seen a lot of good goals at City.
We have
Charlie Adam.
Yeah, the first good, really thing that I can remember, the first goal that I really liked was wow, because we were playing Southend again, and my uncle had come up to visit us, and I took him on to a Lincoln match, and I was like, watch this Ashley Grimes lad, he has got something. And then he did that where he takes it down his foot, flicks it past it. To me, remembering it was like Bergkamp against Leicester. Probably wasn't actually,
which is exactly like
Bergkamp against Leicester. But that's what it seemed like, because I was like, you see, he's decent, isn't he?
Do you know he scored some belters? I think he scored one. Were we away at Orient? And he scored one. He scored like a volley from 30 yards or something. I mean, he had a lot of class. And I remember that. I remember that Southend game. Was that the home game?
Yeah.
And that day we won. I'd bet a lad that we wouldn't go down, and he'd bet that we would. And on that day, we looked that safe that he paid me, and then and we lost like 11 games on the bounce and picked up one draw and went down. But yeah, I remember that. Grimes was quality. I mean, Peter Gaines scored a lot of great goals as well.
But I will never forget the Charlie Adams volley against Grimsby. I was on the right hand side, high up, and so I could see
it swerving.
Yeah,
I think as well, a goal, you have to put a goal in context.
Yes,
because Charlie Adams, perhaps his goal against, was it Aldershot a couple of weeks after that, was perhaps technically better.
Yeah, a lot of people said that, didn't they? But it didn't get the traction and it didn't get the memory.
It wasn't away at Blundell Park.
Yeah,
which
that game,
exactly
it was the perfect moment for it too. Like we'd gone behind, hadn't we? I think.
Yeah, I can't even.
No. I don't know if we'd either gone behind or we were being dominated, and then Power snapped Scott Nielsen. Snapped him. And then he scored.
Yeah, because Marcus Marshall scored for us that day, didn't he? Did we win 3-1?
He might have got the last one.
He got the last one. I think he did, because then he got the last one.
And so it was so tense, because it had been it was like one of the few moments where everyone at Lincoln was up for it. Everyone was on the same page. During that spell, we'd often divided, but against Grimsby away, everyone was on the same page. Everyone
they were
belting out songs trying to cheer everyone on, and then the atmosphere just kept getting cranked up, and then you just picked that volley out.
And that's what you say about context, because you can score the best technical goal ever, but if it's a consolation goal when you've lost 4-1, people won't remember it. But if it's away at your local rivals, they do. And I mean, I actually, there was one by Richie Hanlon, which was about 2004ish, so it would have been around your first game, away at Boston, and we beat them 2-0, and Hanlon struck about 35-yard drive, and I remember that. Same sort of thing as you can't get very high up at Boston unless you're not in the ground, because it's pretty small. But yeah, I remember watching the trajectory of that ball and thinking, Jesus Christ. And Hanlon did nothing else for us again. That's his one claim to fame, was battering a goal in against Boston. So
interestingly, speaking of Boston and local rivalries, I personally, for me, it's just Grimsby. I don't know if it's the time I grew up. It's just Grimsby. I would much rather Gainsborough, Boston, Lincoln United, everyone succeed. Maybe not Scunthorpe, but I don't begrudge them, and I don't see, for me, because I don't know, maybe it's just just chance of matches I went to and stuff like that. Grimsby, I would love to see them. Scunthorpe, no more than Mansfield or Notts County really for me, but that's just me.
Yeah, I think it's an age thing. Because, and I think for a while Grimsby wasn't the rivals. So when I was growing up, we played Grimsby in 89.
Yes.
And then there was no Grimsby. You know, the next time we played Grimsby was probably 10, 12 years later. So it was Scunthorpe, and I hate Scunthorpe, I hate Brian Laws, hate Peter Beagrie. And so I don't like Scunthorpe at all. It's Scunthorpe and Grimsby for me. Boston, they're like your kind of deformed little brother. Do you know what I mean?
Literally, in some cases.
Yeah, like you feel sorry for them, and if they want pocket money, you give them some money and all that. But then if they decide that they want to come in your room and play, then you give them a little bit of a slap and put them back in the cupboard. Whereas Grimsby and Scunthorpe, it's a little bit different. And Mansfield always do their best to hack me off as well, but that's because of Steve Evans, pure and simple. So, but I think it's an age thing. But Grimsby's universal. Lincoln hate Grimsby, Grimsby hate Lincoln.
Yeah.
And I worked in Grimsby for a while, and I worked in Louth for a long while. They just basically knew me as the inbred, which I found really strange. I'm in town.
Yeah, it seems every rivalry calls the other one inbred.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
It's really strange. I think, see, when I was growing up and I heard first chance at Grimsby being inbred, I thought, oh, that's really original something. Yeah. I see every rivalry does it. I'm like,
we used to have in Boston. They used to sing the Addams Family. It used to be your sister is your mother, your father is your... And there was another thing that I'm not going to sing it. And then my brother met a lass from Boston, and in the wedding speech, I dropped one of the songs in, and we still don't get on now, and have been married 11 years. So. But local rivalries are interesting. They are interesting. I think, to a degree, it depends where you are as well. Because if we were in the National League and Gainsborough Trinity came up, you'd want to give them a thrashing. Yeah. Lincoln United is a bit different.
Yeah.
But again, if you're at the same level, if we play them in the FA Cup, it's all relative, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of where you are geographically as well, I know you're from over that way. You said you worked in Grimsby, Louth.
Mm-hmm.
I was. Where I was from, and I went to school in Market Rasen, so that's in between. So you had, obviously you didn't have many, you had more Man United and Liverpool fans, but the ones that did sport like football was either Lincoln or Grimsby. There was slightly more Grimsby in my year, but there was always like a few in each year. Half Lincoln, there were either Lincoln or Grimsby.
I was the same. I went to school in Horncastle. It was the same thing. It was Grimsby, or there wasn't as many Lincoln. I know like the Aston, I assume, but the Aston had quite a few Lincoln there at times. Quite a few. Not famous but well-known Lincoln fans come from Market Rasen. There's the author Ian Plenderleith came from Rasen, and Dom Pixley, who works for the Racing Post as well. They're obviously not really famous, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Market Rasen has that Lincoln City connection.
I know. We've had players that live there, and there's Grimsby players that live there as well.
Craig Disley lives there, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah. He was meant to turn up to my little sister's awards evening last year, but didn't turn up.
Did he not? No. That's Codex for you. You see, if you've got Matt Reed,
Guy Martin turned up. But
did he? That's terrible. Don't be promoting bike racing. I live right near Cadwell, and I got petrol heads, not for me.
They just replaced my local pub's pool table with a motorbike, so I'm not happy about
really?
it. Yeah. They're trying to make it into a little gastro restaurant type thing. I mean, nice pub, but I prefer it when I have a pool table.
Pubs should have pool tables. Absolutely. Nothing used to be. I used to go into town after when Lincoln were away, and we used to go in Susie Q's and play pool in Susie Q's and watch the football scores come on. And that used to be every other Saturday. And then if Lincoln were at home, we'd go and have a few and play pool beforehand. So it's kind of entwined, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, sorry, we digress. Pool tables and pubs.
Isn't that sort of the thing with podcasting?
Digressing, absolutely. I was going to say I was hoping to digress there, because while we're sat here, and I know that this isn't time sensitive, but we are waiting for news of a signing, but it hasn't come through as yet, so please continue.
Okay,
if it comes through while we're talking, it'll be kind of a non-exclusive, but there we go.
Okay, another one. This is a weird one. I remember you said your first memory was at the railway end. Was that what it was called?
Yeah, the Clanford End railway end.
Okay, what's your favourite spot in Sinsel Bank? Do you always sit in the same spot? Do
you know that's really good.
Have you changed? Or?
Yeah, I have. I've only changed.
I don't think I've ever bumped into you at a match or recognised you or anything like that.
I've changed with necessity. Because I'm obviously the blog Stacey West, I'm a Stacey West ender. I'm right side Stacey West, so I go behind the goal's just down to my left hand side. The first game I stood there with my chin on, and the goal was just to my left hand side, and I've kind of moved up a little bit into the seats. And then when they gave the Stacey West away, I went in the co-op stand, whatever it's called. It was the Limpave stand maybe at the time, and I realised that in actual fact the view is a lot better, the facilities are a lot better. And now the Stacey West's come back, I've got my season ticket in the co-op, so I do like having a home end, but now I'm kind of trying to be a connoisseur of football. I need to see what's going on rather than just kind of squinting and cheering when the net bulges. So what about you? What do you say?
Similar to you, when my dad first took me, he had a mate from work that sat in the other end, Bridge McFarlane now. I don't know what it was called.
Hunter's stand.
And one of my very early memories is I don't know how early it actually was, but when I was a little kid, Ezale McLeod,
Yep.
playing for MK Dons, jumped over the thing and landed on my lap because we were on the front row. He ended up sat on my lap.
Did he really?
I always say that whenever I see him, like whenever I'm playing FIFA and he pops up wherever I'm watching TV, I'm like, he sat on my lap that guy.
Was that the day they won 3-2?
I think, yeah.
McLeod was sent off that day for a second book up offence, and I think he said something to the referee, and I was on the sidelines with Casey, who does the DJ,
Yeah.
and we started giving him a load of abuse, and McLeod came for Casey. And I tell you something, when a footballer starts coming for you, at first you think, yeah, whatever, and when he gets close to you, you're like, Jesus Christ. I mean, McLeod was a unit. He was a big lad. And a couple of weeks before or after, I can't remember, I'd done the same with Barry Conlon. He'd kicked a ball at me and it had split my lip. We got beat and I started getting a bit aggro over it. So afterwards, a few bevies.
Was this in the suit or?
No, he kicked a ball at me in the suit.
Oh,
he
right.
did, and it was because I kicked the ball away and he booted it and it split my lip. I was bleeding in the suit, and I thought I'd have it with him afterwards. I wouldn't advise it because Barry Conlon's a big lad and he doesn't really care about being a footballer. He kind of came over the advertising hoardings, and I'm a clever man at times, and I realised that I was going to get beat up, so I hid behind my dad, and we both then hid behind a female steward. So yeah, don't pick a fight.
Just like Cantona.
Yeah, it did feel a little bit like that, but I think Conlon was more looking like he used his face because it looked a little bit battered. You know, Cantona weren't a bad looking fella, but Jesus Christ, you put Conlon on the mantelpiece and stop kids going near the fire.
Not much of a philosopher either.
No, there wasn't a lot coming out of Conlon's mouth but swear words and denials of kicking a ball in my face.
Speaking of a poacher,
Yeah.
I can remember, now I didn't know much about the club at this point when I was first going, but I remember Mrs. Poacher being a thing, and I can remember being terrified.
Yeah,
what was that about?
Mrs. Poacher was my attempt at trying to make being a mascot mildly attractive to my friends by taking the old poacher suit and trying to make it look like my wife so that people could come on the lash with me. We could go away because there was a lot of mascot events. So although we did matches, we'd often go off to the races or we'd go off to the Olympics and that sort of thing. So it started with a mate of mine called Tim Hall, who's a drummer in a punk band. He wanted to have a go at it, and we made Mrs. Poacher. We have purple hair, terrified kids. It fell apart. The suit stunk. Tim couldn't see anything. About 2007, end of 2008 season.
See, it's always stuck with me, but I never hear anything about it. There's not many pictures online of it, but like I can remember I was discussing it with a friend, just early Lincoln memories, and it's just that came up, and I was like, did we imagine that? Did that happen?
Well, what I'll do, because obviously we're going to have pictures, I would assume, on this podcast. So while we're talking now, I'll make sure that I've sent you some pictures over of Mrs. Poacher in the early days. And then there was we played Chester on the final game of John Schofield's first season in charge, and there was a dance troupe there from Leadenham. I can't remember what they were called, but they were all like 17, 18 year old girls, and at the time I was 29 and I had to go and dance with them, and like some sort of old pervert, like, love this, check this out. And this older woman who was teaching them, and she was a blonde girl, she was a dancer, she was about my age, and she said, I'd like to have a go with Mrs. Poacher. And for one afternoon, being the mascot actually worked for me, because she came, we went out and we were doing all this dancing and she was acting actually like my proper wife, and it was brilliant. And then we went in the changing rooms and we both took the heads off, and she looked and smelt like a tramp, and she never did. She was beautiful beforehand, and I always looked and smelt like a tramp, and at that point the illusion was shattered. So but no, Mrs. Poacher was good fun. Yeah, it was good fun.
How did the poacher thing come about, you being?
Well, initially John Beck came up with the idea, the infamous manager. He basically wanted to increase the community atmosphere. I was skint, I was 18 years old, we'd just been promoted. I desperately wanted to go and watch Lincoln, but I couldn't afford to, and on the back of the Echo was an advert saying come and be the mascot. And I think 10, 12 people applied. Alan Long did the interviews.
Really?
It was only his first season doing the microphone. And I turned up like it was a proper job interview, with a folder full of pictures of other mascots, ideas of routines and that sort of thing. And I don't think they were expecting that. They rang me up more or less as soon as I'd got back home again, because I didn't have a mobile in those days, and sort of said, do you want to come and do it? And I thought, brilliant, I'm going to get paid for it. And no one told me it was voluntary until the end of the first game. And then kind of after that I just fell in love with it. So Yeah, it's good. Do you know what? I had some of the best of times being poacher. I had some really mad times. Some stuff I couldn't even say on a podcast. Genuinely, but
save it for a tell-all memoir.
Well, funny you should say that, but yes, there will be one coming out very soon. But yeah, it was good.
Okay, brilliant. Well, that's the end of my terrible pilot questions.
No worries.
Great chatting with you, Gary.
Yeah, same to you, man. Yeah,
Thank you.
It.